wargaming video. We're going to do a BATREP in this video. It's a beginner's BATREP, and it's for the game Shattered Earth. Me and Matt are going to be playing it. You'll have to bear with us, it's our first game without anyone guiding us through it, so we don't really know what we're doing, but we'll do our best. We're going to be doing a scenario which is called Expansion. Play on a 4x4, it's split into quarters, and in each quarter you have an objective which you place randomly in each quarter, and basically the scenarios run over 5 turns, and you amass VPs at the end of every turn, and at the end of the game you add them together and see who the winner is. So basically, yeah, that's the rules for the scenario. We're going to set the table up, I'll show you the armies, and we'll take it from there. Okay guys, we'll just let you know a little bit about the forces that we're using. I'm going to be playing today as the United Nations of Mankind, and the leader of my force is Lieutenant Mitchell Ward. This is his profile. I'm not going to go too much into it, I'll try and explain as much as I can throughout the game. So he's my leader. I also have 2 units of what these are called coyotes, and there's 3 men in each unit, and again that's the profile for you there. And alongside those I have what's called a Kodiak, which is like a heavy artillery kind of mechanical frame thing, and that's the profile for that there. So that's my force of the United Nations of Mankind, and I'll now show you what Matt's using.
Okay, so here's my force. I'm playing as the Cult of the Dragon, who are sort of Asian themed genetic experimenting forces. So this here from my Infinity Army is going to be representing the Biomancer, who's a bit of a hacker with tentacles. And here we have 2 units of Acolytes of the Dragon, and there's the profile for those there.
Okay guys, this is the board that we're going to be playing on. It's 4x4, and as we said in the intro, it's divided into quarters, and we basically placed a point of interest in each quarter. So we have 1 there in this quarter, 1 there in the far quarter, and then on the other side 1 there, and 1 just inside the terrain there also. Each side has to roll on an initiative test to see who places first, and then you deploy your units alternatively. An initiative test is basically when you look at your profile, as you can see on Mitch, who's my leader, you take his mind and his proficiency value into account, you add them together, and that's how many d10s you roll. On that roll, anything above a 7 is classed as a hit. Anything below a 7 is discarded. If you roll a 0, that's classed as a critical hit. You then compare your rolls, and basically, as an example, if I rolled 4 7s or above and Matt rolled 3, he'd cancel out 3 of my 7s. But if I also rolled a 0 as one of them, his normal above 7 rolls can't cancel it out. They can only be cancelled by another 0. So it just adds another aspect to your dice rolls, which is pretty cool. Just to let you know, these purple markers are ether deposits, which give us different little bonuses and power-ups in the game. And they were also placed alternatively in the same manner as the units, where we rolled off and we placed them alternatively. The only difference is, once you place them, they scatter using a scatter template on your D10. So that's the board. Before we start turn 1, we're going to roll another initiative test to see who goes first, and we'll come back after that. Okay guys, for this turn 1, what we're going to do, we're going to roll the initiative roll on camera to see who moves first, just to basically show you how this works, and it just will save a little bit of time, because all the other initiative rolls, rather than show them all on camera, I can do them off camera and just make this BATREP a little bit more streamlined. But if I show you on this first turn, then you'll know what's involved and what we've been doing. Also, this blue dice is going to be the turn counter. There's only going to be 5 turns, and this red D20 is going to be a wound counter, which basically goes up every time there's a wound received from either side. The reason for that is, for Matt's side, and the dragon can come on once he hits 20 wounds and other certain things within the game have been triggered. He's able to then try and bring the dragon on in place of Lee Kyung Min, if that's how you say it. So As I said earlier, you put together the mind and proficiency. In my case it's 6 plus 6, which is 12 dice. I only have 10, so I'm going to roll 10 and then re-roll 2 of my failed, and I'm looking for 0s or 7 and above. And there we go, and Matt will roll his also, and we'll count them up. So I'll take the ones out that are not 7s, which is a lot. In fact, I've got 1. I'll get to roll another 2, and I still only got 1. And Matt, as you can see, are the icons 0s, Matt?
Yeah.
So the icons are 0s, so he's got 3 critical hits and 2 normals. The critical hits, just to state, we've only just realised there was a slight change in the rules. The 0s now count as 2 hits, and they're not like individual hits that can't be cancelled out by normal. So each 0 will count as 2, and anything else above a 7 counts as 1. So Matt won that because I only got 1, and he got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Alright then guys, so Matt's going to move one of his units first, and then we move units alternatively till they've all moved. And we'll okay, turn 1 first move. Matt's going to move his Biomancer, which is this creature here. You get 2 actions, simple actions and complex actions. One of the simple actions in his activation is going to be move, and his complex action is he's going to shoot a smoke grenade directly up here. What that will do is create obviously a field of smoke which blocks line of sight. Smoke grenade, he throws a d10. He needs a 7 plus, which he gets, which means it hits the target. So it's there, and it's basically that marker is the smoke. If he would have got less than a 7, we would have scattered it in the same way as the ether deposits, because it would have just been off target. So the smoke grenade would have still gone off regardless, but wouldn't have been where he aimed for. Okay, so that's his move. I will now move my first unit. Okay, my leader, Mitchell Ward, is going to play it safe on this turn 1. He has a special backpack, which basically means he can siphon ether from the deposits and use them for different abilities, which he's going to do. So he gets that as a free action, and he's going to siphon 2 tokens, which he's allowed to do. We're going to use these purple tokens, so there's 2 there, which he now has in his possession. And that is all he's going to do this turn. So now it's on to Matt. Okay, so Matt's decided to now move his leader. He's also going to move up to the ether deposit. Lee Kyung Min is able to cipher 4 ether tokens, which he's going to do. And for his second action, he's going to do a second movement, as you can see. And now it's on to my second unit. Okay guys, so I've moved this coyote unit. They've moved from behind this piece of stone scenery. They've moved forward just to get into position to shoot Matt's leader around the smoke screen. They've also laid prone. They get to do that as a free action, which will benefit them with 1 extra attack dice when shooting. The range of these guys is 12 inches. If we're over that 12 inches, for every 12 inches that you're over your range, you take 1 attack dice away. So these guys, for a ranged attack, you use your agility stat against your proficiency stat, which is 10 in this case. We lose 1 for being over our range, but within the 12 inch over, but we gain 1 for being prone, so we still get our 10 attacks. We're going to roll these off camera, and I'll come back and tell you what hits we got. Okay guys, so the shots from my 3 guys here against Matt's leader. On the first shot from the first guy, we inflicted 2 damage, which was a very good shot. Unfortunately, the second 2, Matt on his rolls cancelled out every hit that I rolled on my dice. So after that attack from my 3 units, he only sustained 2 bars of damage. Okay, we'll come back in the next move. Okay, so Matt's moved one of his acolyte units. What he did there, for his first action he moved as a normal action, and his second action he actually used his complex action, one of his complex actions, which was charge. And the reason that he used that action was because these have a special ability in their profile that as a complex action they're able to use charge, and it gets them their full move distance plus an extra 2. So basically he gained an extra 2 inches. He's just trying to get up in the face of these guys that are on the floor, I think, and put a bit of pressure on these ether deposits. So now we'll move on to my next activation. Okay, so my next activation is going to be my Kodiak. We're going to use a special rule that the Kodiak has here called Reign of Death, which we think we've pretty much sussed out that we're playing it correctly, but I'm sure Simon or one of the other guys will correct us if not. So what he's going to do, he's got a 4-inch move. He's going to move to here, which basically he can see these guys, although it doesn't matter because this special rule from Rules as Written says that he can place a 5-inch area of effect token anywhere on the board, and then it's a ranged attack against any unit within that 5-inch area on each one, and for every damage inflicted it becomes 2. The only issue with this is as soon as I've set this off, the Kodiak himself becomes dormant, has a dormant status. Dormant status means that he basically misses the next turn. It's as if it's took that much power to inflict this attack that he needs to regenerate some power or what have you. So I've moved the 4-inch, just gets him in range of the point of interest marker for VPs, and we're now going to place the 5-inch marker token over that unit and we'll work out the hits and we'll come back in a second. Okay, so as we can see, I've placed this marker now next to my Kodiak. We're going to use this as a dormant token, so we know now that next turn he still can't do any actions or move or anything like that. Going into the damage that was inflicted, didn't do as much as I'd liked to have, if I'm honest. I think it is a very powerful rule. I'll definitely be using it again. It killed 1 from the unit, it inflicted 2 damage on another, and the third guy was lucky enough to stop every attack, so he didn't take any wounds. If you're wondering what these purple tokens are next to some of the units that we have on here, it's just activation tokens, or what we're using as activation tokens, so we know that they've moved this turn and we don't try and move them and activate them again. Okay, so we're going to go on to Matt's final activation and then we'll do my final. We'll come back in a second. Okay guys, just a little bit of a recap on the last activation. We're pretty sure, and we're sure, again, Simon will correct us if we're playing this wrong, because we don't want to keep referring to the rule book too much. We want to try and get this BATREP filmed as quickly and as smoothly as we can. We've had a quick look and we couldn't find it. But there is a rule in this game that once you reach 0 wounds, you're not straight away taken off the board. You're allowed to stay on till the end of this turn, which basically gives you a chance for one of your units, if they have the option to do so, to be able to get up and heal you, which is a good rule. We think we're playing that correctly. Again, Simon, if you're watching, if you can just correct us or let us know that we have been playing it right. So yeah, you don't actually remove the unit from the board until the end of that turn. Alright, we'll come back in a second. So Matt's just moved his second unit of his rank and file up, just to get in range for the point of interest marker, which is there, to get these VPs. So he's now coming up this flanking force. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any actions on any of these guys to be able to heal his fallen comrade, so it looks like he is going to be coming off the board at the end of this turn. So we'll now move on to my final movement of this. So these guys done a similar move to the other Coyote unit. They've moved up, laid prone and took some shots at Matt's leader. Unfortunately it wasn't very successful and we only inflicted 1 wound. So that's the end of turn 1. We're already on 11 wounds total, so we're getting close to that magic 20 number when Matt can start thinking about bringing the dragon on the board. And this is the state of play at the end of turn 1. What I'm now going to do, we're going to do the turns pretty much off camera, and at the end of each turn we'll come and we'll do like an overview of what's happened in that turn. We went through the first turn in more detail just to kind of show you how it works and the physics of moving around and what you can do, etc. So anything complex we will go through it in detail. But it just means that this BATREP won't drag out as it will tend to do, because we're still learning the rules. So we'll come back at the end of turn 2. Okay, so after turn 2, it's not looking good for the United Nations of Mankind. I did have this hole there that's the shape of a Coyote unit. Was one of my units which got wiped out. Matt moved one of his units up in first into melee combat. These guys have a special rule where if they're in range of 2 enemy units, they're able to make 2 separate attacks on each unit instead of their 1 normal attack, which basically just inflicted that much damage. It incapacitated all 3, I think, and killed 2. Killed these 2 guys first off. After that, I then used my leader. He used a free action to force this unit to take aim, and he then took some pot shots at this guy around the corner and inflicted damage on him. Matt then was able to turn his leader into the dragon, as we can see this lovely model, and move him up. From there, my second coyote unit, who were all taking aim, took some shots, and they managed to get one to be incapacitated, so he'll die now, and he was from before him, wasn't he? And that was that. And then he's moved this unit up into range to get the VPs, and he's also split one of his units, and just so he could get the VPs split with me on this final point of interest. And I think that's that for that turn. So yeah, so it's pretty brutal. I lost a full coyote unit, which was not good. Matt's almost lost one of his units, so it's not too far off, but I think in this scenario we don't get any points for kills. It's all VPs for keeping control of the points of interest. So we're now going to move on to turn 3. Okay guys, so up until the last activation, turn 3 was quite uneventful. Kodiak done his Reign of Death special rule again on the group of enemy which are in and around this piece of scenery. It had little to no effect. I think it inflicted 2 wounds on one of these guys. Matt's moved this fella up and loaded a program, so he's going to go for a hack, I think, in the next turn. He basically also moved into position to capture maximum VPs on the points of interest on his half of the board. The dragon moved up and sprayed fire. He just couldn't get Mitch in range and also get all 3 of the coyotes in, but he did actually end up spraying all 3 coyotes, killed 2, and he's basically got the final one down to have 2 wounds left. It was a devastating attack. I think he was rolling something like 15 dice per model, and I was rolling 6 to defend. I was struggling, to say the least. And my leader activated his special rule, which is an ether field. Using the ether that he siphoned at the beginning of the game, he now gets a +2 defense, and he just moved out of the way of line of sight so the coyotes could get a shot off at the dragon, which was ineffective. So we're going to move on to turn 4, and we'll come back at the end of that. Okay, so the end of turn 4, as we can see, Matt's moved into position again, just to safely get the VPs on the points of interest on his half of the board. Over here, my Kodiak now come into play again on this turn and try and do some damage. He's got his, what's that guy called again?
Biomancer.
A Biomancer, also on the point of interest, so it's we're blocking each other out and gaining any VPs there at the moment. Over here, Matt's leader, what's his name again? Lee Kyong Min. Basically, he failed a test and turned back into human form, charged my leader, and yeah, he's done a lot of damage. My leader is now incapacitated and is at the mercy of Lee Kyong Min. I also have 1 coyote left, still prone, and he has 2 wounds left. So it's looking a bit dire for my force at the minute. We're going to go into the final turn now. I think it's a foregone conclusion, but we're going to play it out, and yeah, we'll come back at the end of turn 5. Okay, so end of turn 5. These guys didn't need to move, stayed exactly where they were. Matt moved into melee range, inflicted a couple of wounds on my Kodiak here. That point of interest is contested, so there's no points for either of us on that one. And on this one, Lee Kyong Min killed Mitch devastatingly. It wasn't pretty to watch. He absolutely hammered him, and he incapacitated the last coyote.
Unfortunately, as you can see, Lee Kyung-min is in the 3-inch range of the point of interest, but the Coyote isn't, so it's not contested, so Matt gets full points there. At the end of the game, turn 1, VPs was 10-10, turn 2 was 5-5, turn 3 was 10-5 to Matt, turn 4 was 10-0 to Matt, and turn 5 was 15-0 to Matt. So overall, Matt wins 50 VPs to 20. We had a good game. We'll come back, we'll have a short few words on what we thought of the game and if we'd do anything differently, etc. So we'll see you in a second. So guys, that was it. Hope you enjoyed it. I had a really good game. I think you had a good, well, I know you had a good game, Matt, because you thrashed me. But no, it's a good game. We sort of fumbled our way through it. We're not too clued up on the rules properly yet, but as we do every BATREP and we have a few more games with each other, you know, that'll come and the BATREPs will be more fluid. But overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I learnt a lot. There's a lot of things that I didn't do that I should have done. There's things that I was able to do that I just didn't think of. Full auto and Overwatch, etc. But again, that'll come. That'll come. I think you play quite well. You sort of knew the basics of the rules of your force
well, I
quite
think
well.
our forces play quite differently. So yours is a bit more defensive in the way the models sort of boost each other, whereas mine's just throw them straight down the middle. And I guess that worked quite well because I was able to inflict quite a lot of damage early on and then retreat to hold my objective.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what happened. I mean, you got up in my face pretty quick.
And legged it.
And then legged it, took the prize and ran. But no, it was a good game. Like I say, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you look forward to the next lot. If there's anything in there that you're unsure of what we did or why we did it, comment in the box below. We'll try and explain it best we can. And for the guys who know a little bit about the rules, if there's any mistakes that we made, if you could point them out, that'd be really cool, so we don't make them again. But no, we'll see you in the next video, so keep on gaming, guys. Thanks a lot.